Coming up, cooking smart.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey guys, welcome along to another episode of Double Tap. Shaun Priest, how are you today?
Confused. What did you say? Sorry, what was that? Cooking?
Cooking smart.
Cooking smart. Okay, very good.
I could have also said smart cooking, which now, in hindsight, would have made a lot more sense. But let's just park that.
And also saying smart cooking would have made more sense. But yeah, it's fine.
That's what I just said.
We've all got accents. It's lovely, lovely. I'm interested in it. Do you know what I love?
Change it to Polish if you want.
I want to make a beef ragu.
Oh,
all right. I'm throwing it
disgusting.
out there. I love pasta and I love beef ragu. If anyone can tell me how to make a beef ragu without actually cooking, then please get in touch. Feedback at doubletaponair.com.
How does that work? You want a private chef? Do you know here's the thing, right? When I was in London recently, I was on the Uber. I think it was the Uber app, or maybe it was Airbnb. I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been Airbnb, actually. And I was looking at the app, and there was services. I thought, I'm not going in there. I hope this isn't tracked. And so I went, but I thought, I'm going to go in.
I'm opening it right now.
Yeah. And so I thought, what kind of services are available through Airbnb? Immediately thinking of my days of Craigslist, but let's just park that to the side.
Yes,
so
please do.
I'm like, okay, so remember Craigslist? I mean, that was like, that was
please carry on.
Killer's fantasy land, wasn't it? I mean, it was just like everybody was on
Stop
Craigslist.
It.
You
Dig
could
in
buy
a hole.
sofa and you could be murdered.
God bless you, Mr. F. Don't listen.
So here's the thing. There I am on Airbnb. I go into services and it says private chef.
No way.
So I checked local. Well, hang on. I checked locally to me, 0 options. Went to London in England. Oh, yeah, a million options. You could have someone come to your house. It was like $20 or $30, I think, or $40. It wasn't a huge amount of money.
It's the price of a takeaway.
Yeah, I might have got that wrong, but it wasn't the most expensive thing. I was surprised. No, it wasn't as much as that. It was actually like, do you know, that's a reasonable amount of money to have your meal made for you. And I think the idea is they can come in and they can, they cook in front of you, which is nice that you can watch the meal be made. People like that. People like that kind of thing. I want
Gordon Ramsay for that sort of money. I want Gordon Ramsay to come round, cook me a sandwich, I don't know, and abuse me for that sort of money. That's a lot of money.
He can probably do the abuse part just for free. I think he just does that anyway, just swear at you. It's like Brian Cox in Succession. I kind of just want him to come around and tell me to get lost in his inimitable style. That would make my day.
When I say without cooking, make a beef ragu, what I mean is I cannot use my gas stove. It is completely inaccessible. Every time I try and cook on it, it's one of those where it's got those funny little legs and you got to put the pan directly centered on the ring, otherwise it tips over.
Oh, are you talking about the gas oven?
Yeah. Well, the gas stove, the gas hob.
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah, sorry, yeah.
So I cannot put a pan on it. I've given up. I totally can't do it. So can I make a beef ragu in a air fryer? Can I make it I'm assuming you can make it in a slow cooker, although you do need to brown the braising steak and other things. So let me know. Beef ragu. How do I make it without cooking it in that traditional sense?
I wish you had thought of this earlier, because coming up on Double Tap in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a very special episode where we're going to be joined by not one, but 2 chefs who are going to be working with us to make, they're going to be making a traditional English breakfast.
Yes.
We'll tell you more about this in the coming weeks, but
this
very
is
interesting
so cool,
episode. We already recorded, we actually recorded it before we went away to Site Village. In fact, way before our break. And it's a very exciting episode because we actually go live into a kitchen where we are joined by 2 amazing chefs. We'll tell you more about that in the next couple of weeks. But we should have thought of that at the time. You could have mentioned beef ragu and you'd have got all the information you wanted from someone who knows what they're talking about.
I know. I learned.
You need to go through Airbnb's app to get there. Listen, someone really was annoyed at me the other week because I was talking about Airbnb and I was talking about our experience there. We were at Site Village, and someone said, "But you missed a chance here, Stephen. You missed a chance to talk about how wonderful and accessible the Airbnb app is." Now, I think I did mention it, in fairness.
You did, yeah.
But maybe I didn't get into it in a huge amount of detail. But yeah, I did find it very accessible. I thought it was a brilliant app to use. I was very impressed by it, and I would definitely use it again.
Yeah,
you didn't use it.
I know I didn't. No,
What are you talking about?
I was with you.
I don't know.
No,
That's exactly what you did.
that wasn't my voice at all. 11 Labs. What I was saying was the app was apparently incredibly accessible, very nice. What wasn't so accessible was going to have to go somewhere else to pick up the keys, then go and try and find this building, which we didn't find, getting lost, and then having to get a listener to come and guide us all the way to the.
It's the only way to do it. That's the way. That's the double tap way. Because in every single situation in our lives, the listeners know better. In every single moment.
Let me just say this, Tim Dixon, you are a hero and you've saved us. Thank you.
All right, don't butter him up too much. He's going to get an attitude around here. I mean, that's all we need. And his wife won't thank me. I'll tell you that.
Let's just say that.
Yeah, we did. That's right. I think I did, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, and me.
Yeah.
You bought me one as well. Sorry, we got off track there. Yes.
Just a
what
bit.
are we talking about today?
Do you know what I really want to do today? This is my feeling today. I'm having one of those days where and I don't know if I'll have time to do this, but I really want to just sit down with a bag of some kind of confectionery. And watch Caddyshack.
Oh, Caddyshack. Oh, I haven't seen that in years. Chevy Chase, was it?
Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield was in it. I can't remember all the other people in it, but there was a whole... Wasn't Bill Murray in that as well?
Yes, as the groundskeeper.
And there was the gopher, obviously.
It's all right. No, 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 no. Oh, yeah. I want to watch it as well. Where can we watch that?
I don't know. I want to find it. I'm going to find it later and I'm going to watch it because that's my... I have a thing about old movies now. I'm becoming my mother.
Mother? Yes.
Becoming my mother. I want to watch old movies
right,
I remember from the past. We get some Doris Day, Calamity Jane, some seriously good old films on. Not this what passes for modern trash.
Oh, you are turning into your mother.
Utter rubbish. You go on Netflix films. Now, and it's all atmospheric and thoughtful. And as soon as it's a beautiful love story. Not interested. I want funny, or I want murder. Funny or die. Isn't that a show?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's right.
That's what I want. But funny. Caddyshack covers the funny part. There was also a second version of it. There's Caddyshack 2. And another, if you're into your Chevy Chase, by the way, did you ever watch Fletch? Do you remember Fletch? Not Flesh.
I watched Flesh many times. No, Fletch. I loved Fletch. It was fantastic. And it's very sad to see Chevy Chase now. But Fletch was absolutely fantastic. It was our Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, it was. Actually,
very cool. Very.
It was a Beverly Hills chop. Beverly Hills Cop in the bargain aisle, wasn't it? It was a little bit.
It was very good. I never saw Fletch 2. And Fletch Lives as well. That was
Fletch
rebooted
Lives.
recently.
Yeah.
I never saw that. So there's a new Naked Gun, isn't there, with Liam Neeson?
Yeah, it's not Leslie Nielsen. I'm sorry. I know it's Leslie Nielsen.
It's Liam.
What's his name? Liam Neeson.
Liam. Yes.
That's right. It's a very close name considering when you think about it.
It's his son in the film, at least.
In the film, yes.
Okay, so there we are. A little bit of movies. By the way, if you ask your AI service of choice, where can I watch whatever, it will tell you where it's streamed. Now, whether it's true or not is a different matter. But a lot of the times, it will point you in the right direction. It will say, you could watch this on Netflix or wherever else. So give that a go.
Yeah. Coming up today, we are going to learn a bit about cooking, but not in the, I don't know, maybe you can do a beef ragu in this thing, I don't know, but it's called the Brava Smart Oven, and it's been interesting because this company showed up at CSUN, and they've been at other events as well, and although the product itself is very much a mainstream cooking product, they're putting a lot of effort into making it accessible to blind people. We're going to hear that story coming up a little bit later today, but first let's get into a couple of emails, and I want to start with, I think it's Jeff. Yes, we've got Jeff up first, who wants to talk about printers.
Hello again. I just had to retire my Brother printer after 12 years of good use for 2 businesses and our personal needs. This time I bought a multi-purpose printer and scanner, the Brother 8024, and things have changed a little. It turns out that the USB Type A to USB Type B cable that I used to use won't work any longer. A higher speed version is now required to connect the printer and scanner to the PC. I use a Windows 11 PC. I had to go to the Brothers website and look up my model and download the software, which consists of drivers and possibly firmware updates, as well as the actual printing and scanning app. The important thing that I had forgotten is that a scanner needs a Twain driver, which is a separate driver from the print driver. Until I made sure that this was installed, my scanner couldn't see my PC or the PC couldn't see the scanner. Either way, you need that Twain driver to make sure the computer can connect to the scanner portion of your device. I guess you could say that the device is really just two devices physically co-located in the same box. My biggest complaint is that there is a touch-sensitive screen and control panel on the top of the printer, and blind people can't use this method to control the printer. I had my sighted son try using the touch panel, and it was much easier to set up everything that way. Once it's set up, though, everything should print just fine, and I can still use this scanner with my DocuScan Plus app from Numa Solutions. Hope this helps. Jeff Armstrong in Minnesota.
Thank you, Jeff. Very interesting. Now, this came up, of course, because I was having a lot of issues a while back with my printer, my HP, I think it is, multifunction printer, and it was the same thing. I could access the printer, but I couldn't access the scanner. So now you've got me on the hunt, Jeff. I'm going to go and search for a Twain driver. Now, what? I'm trying to think. This is a quiz question for nerds, for sure. But what Twain stood for? And I'm trying to rack my brains.
Do you remember? It's quite funny.
It is funny, but I can't remember what it is. Tell me.
Technology without an interesting name.
That's it. Yes.
It means nothing.
Yeah,
that's
nothing.
Apparently, that's what it stands for. Twain is a real throwback. This is going back to the days, and you do still find this with printers. It's funny. You sort of going back to the days where you used to plug it into the parallel port or the serial port with those massive, thick anchor-like plugs that cables.
And you clipped them in. Remember, you clip it into place.
Yes, they were huge. Yeah, Twain. Technology without an interesting name is just. It is a driver, and it's a way to, as Jeff said there, for the scanner to communicate. But you see, the problem is a lot of this stuff has been built into Windows. What did Jeff say his computer was there? I missed it.
Oh, I said Windows 11.
Windows 11. So it should all be already built in there. So it's
you think so, right?
Yeah, it's very unusual that you would have to download this package. But even if you do have to download, go to the Brother or whatever manufacturer your printer is from website and download the package. It should all be as one, right? You shouldn't have to find this for that and this for that. It's just not a great user experience. So, but yes, this is it's almost a retro way of doing it. This should just be picked up by your computer now with Windows, but that's what plug and play was for. And how long ago did that come in? It was meant just to do it all for you. But hey, as long as you can get it working.
I mean, yesterday I was talking about how much I love and enjoy using the PC, and I do. But there are things that come along like this from time to time.
Drivers.
And you go, this is, because on a Mac you just don't even think about it. You plug it in and that's it. Maybe there's software accompaniment to it, but it deals with all the drivers if it even needs them. It does need drivers to some degree, but the way that Mac handles it is very different. So you don't really have the issue of having to go to a website, download a driver for something to work. It's usually a software package which includes all that in it.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
You don't feel it the same way, and you don't really get into the weeds as much on a Mac. You can, and sometimes you have to, but more often than not, you don't. I mean, the one thing that's kind of always amazed me about the Mac is that on a Windows PC, when you get rid of an app, you go in and you uninstall it. On a Mac, you just delete the program, and that's it. It's gone, and it never quite feels right.
I know.
Think surely there's bits left behind. There's got to be some rubbish left lying around here that could be gone.
It took me a long time to get used to that on the iPhone. When I first got my first iPhone, I was like, okay, how do I close this app? How do I quit this app?
Yes.
Well, you don't. You just open another. Well, that's not right. Well, it's still running in the... Yeah, it's weird, but that's how it works. You soon get used to things like that.
Well, good point, Jeff. I'm going to go off and check and see. I went through the HP website at the time. I don't remember seeing anything for Twain drivers, but I will go back and check. And if I find it and I download it, I'll be a very, very happy person, because I still can't get my printer to work properly or scanner to work properly. One. Yeah, I'm going to buy a Brother, because honestly, I think Brother's the best. I should have done that in the first place.
12 years of service. Yes, they are very good. How do you feel about the inaccessible interface, touch screen on these devices? Very much like a lot of the kitchen devices. A lot of things are touchscreen now. Really annoying. I will say on mine, I could download the app on my iPhone and set it up through that rather than using the touchscreen. But of course, every model's going to be different. I can't say that would be the case for you. But it is true. Sometimes I think, you know what, I'm just going to get a family member in to set it up for me, because I know I'm just going to set it and forget it. I can just carry on using it as normal. So
well, it depends how you look at it, right? I mean, there's a couple of ways you can look at it. One is that you look at what you actually need and buy that, and therefore you can sometimes save some money because you don't have to buy the latest, greatest, fanciest, all singing, all dancing, because you think, well, look, I just want a color printer or whatever, so I can buy the cheapest one, and actually that's probably the easiest one for me to have because I don't need or I'm ever going to use all these functions. But it depends what you want it to do. Also depends who else is in the household who may be using it. But you do find you're locked out a lot of the features. Like I've just got actually more recently a photo printer purely for printing photographs, and I am only imagining the horror that is about to unfold for me to try and figure out how to set this up and use it. I know I can obviously choose paper size and things like that, paper type in the print settings themselves.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of cool stuff that printer can probably do, and I can't do it.
Well, especially when you're talking about a multifunction printer. I mean, photocopying was something I used all the time back in the day. And if it's only a touchscreen interface, you can't use the photocopying feature of it, which
that's right,
cuts you out, like you say. Annoying.
Oh, anyway, thank you for that, Jeff. I appreciate the comment. Let's move to Steph.
Hi guys, Steph from Pennsylvania, US here. I love your show and enjoyed the segment on braille signage in buildings. I personally feel that for some things such as elevators and door numbers, it is helpful. It made me think of a funny thing that happened to me though, arguing for the idea that a braille user should actually put the signs up. A friend and I had a few drinks at a comedy club one night, and when we went to use the restroom, he excitedly showed me that the women's bathroom door had braille. One problem, it said elevator. After we stopped laughing, we spoke to the owner who assured us it was not meant as a joke. I also have a question. I download AD TV shows and movies from the Audio Vault and have them on my phone as MP3 files. I hate having to open each file individually in the Files app and having very minimal playback controls. Is there an audio player that would work better and at least provide continuous playback from one file to the next? Thanks again for such a great podcast and newsletter. From Steph.
Thanks, Steph.
Thank you.
Any thoughts, Shaun?
No, I'm immediately jumping to VLC Player. That's a pretty platform agnostic app. I think you can find it pretty much anywhere, but it's something I personally haven't used because I tend to use something like Dropbox app for things like that. So in the files, you can't set a playlist. So no, it is just one file at a time as far as I know. So no, I'm going to have to throw this out to the listeners.
Yeah, I'm going to hand that out to you. I'm sure there's lots of different apps and features out there, but yeah, let us know your thoughts. Okay, thank you for that, Steph. I appreciate it. Let's go to Joel, who wants to pick up on the conversation we had around, I think it was Kansas Kid at the time, who was having issues with, or at least attitudes towards him getting into the world of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Hi, Stephen, Shaun, and Laura. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying some sunshine in the UK.
Yes.
This email is in response to the caller on May 9th, asking about pursuing certification in computer security. First, another great rant by Stephen regarding people saying that's probably not going to happen for you. Preach it, brother Stephen. Yes, networking and security is absolutely in reach for a blind person. As with anything, how well you do is likely based on how hard you work, and probably the most frustrating elements will not be the technical, but convincing others you're perfectly capable and qualified. You'll need to really know your screen reader of choice and how to optimize your environment. I'd suggest being intimately familiar with the command line, Python, Linux, and Bash. I'm not a security professional and don't have direct experience with security toolkits, but I'm pretty sure much of it is command line based. A lot of hacking is about getting a remote shell on a targeted host, then bouncing around within that network looking for access to other systems. I would personally opt to use Windows 11, NVDA, the Windows Terminal, PowerShell 7, and Windows Subsystem for Linux, WSL, to get familiar with Linux. Of course, you do you, and if you're already running a laptop with some Linux distribution running Orca, great. Or if you're already comfortable with the terminal and VoiceOver on macOS, you likely already have some bash skills and have an admirable level of persistence navigating buggy, hostile, insular environments, which is great experience for security. Cheers, Joel.
Well, Joel, you're clearly a smarter person than anyone else in this show, let me tell you. Because I understand about at least a third of that. And I think that included the word hello. But that is
bash.
really... Yeah,
but
and
in a different
I
context.
can do bashing around. That's not a problem. I can do that easily.
So true, though. Absolutely true. And you know what? There's someone out there in the same situation, visually impaired, totally blind, who's already doing this. There's always workarounds. There's always something you can do. And that's great advice as well about Windows 11 with the WSL, because there's been a lot of work on the Linux subsystem inside Windows 11, especially recently. So, yeah, there's a lot you can do there. So, definitely, as we said at the time, you know what? This is just people just putting limitations on you, which are just, there's no reason for them to be there. There's always a technical workaround, and there's always someone in our community who's done that.
Have you ever played with the Raspberry Pi?
I haven't. You know what? I haven't played with Linux really at all. It does scare me off a little bit, which is funny because when I was doing computers at college, it was all Unix based, which is basically the same thing. And but I've never gone back to it since, you know, not being able to see the screen before, and I haven't really played with the Orca screen reader either. So, but I mean, even there with the Raspberry Pi, I remember there was a group out there, the Raspberry VI, right, for people who were visually impaired. As I said, you know, just because you're visually impaired doesn't mean that you're not interested or having a go at this technology. There's always resources there.
Yeah, and you can probably source them on Facebook, because I think that's often where all these groups tend to live. Of course, there's Groups IO as well. There's other ways people tend to do it. But yeah, it's very interesting, very, very interesting stuff. I'd love to learn all this, but there's no, you know, it's never going to happen for me. I know it's not. I feel I'd buy one, I'd turn it on, I'd go, it's interesting, and then never ever.
It's got to be
give
your
it to
passion, right? That's the thing. That's like technology with me. Just since I was a kid, it's always been computers and technology, right? It's just something I'd love to learn about.
Can I be honest? Can I be totally honest? I kind of wish I don't know how to say this without it sounding weird, but I kind of wish I was blind learning all that stuff as a kid.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean by that?
I do.
Because I feel now I came from the visual world and really loved playing and learning and all that stuff, and a lot of that drained out of me when I lost vision, because I thought it's very hard when you come from the visual. You know, it's like it's teased you with all its greatness and wonderfulness of the visual world. And then you're stuck with audio, and you're like, oh, God, this doesn't feel the same at all. Well, no,
because we come with our own preconceptions, like the mainstream do anyway. Of how on earth can I use it now? I can't see it.
Yeah, and it feels totally different, and it feels irritating. So the feelings around it aren't great.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting comment, Joel. Thank you for that, and I'm sure Kansas Kid will appreciate that as well. And anyone else who's out there thinking, can I do this? Can I do this career? Well, look, ultimately that's down to you, right? It is down to you. And attitudes will always be there, but there will always be people who will say, I mean, look, I came from a poor area growing up, right? The amount of people, if I told them I'd be doing this in my life, they'd laugh.
Yeah.
So it's about disability, it's also about culture, it's about environment. There's always someone who will happily tread on your dreams because they're having a bad day too.
Yeah.
Try and shut those noises out. Focus on who you are, what you're doing, and get around people who are similar minded to you in terms of what you might be interested in doing. And if shows like this can help, that's
true.
Great.
Yeah.
Look, stick around. We're going to be learning all about the Brava Smart Oven next as we speak to its developers and creators. That's on the way.
Get in touch with Double Tap. Email feedback at doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. And now you can send an audio or video message to us on WhatsApp. That number is 1-613-481-0144.
My name's Travis Ray. I head up sales and marketing and culinary at Brava Home.
And my name's Zach Selman. I'm the head of product at Brava Home.
Travis, Zach, it is great to have you here on Double Tap. And also, it was wonderful to meet your guys in person at CSUN. Look, first off, let's talk about Brava and the company and the brand and the product. Give us a sense of what the company is for those who are unaware of it.
So Brava is a smart countertop oven. But it's a little bit different from most other ovens and countertop ovens because we cook with infrared light. We use lamps that were originally designed for the solar industry to weld silicon wafers to solar panels, and they're really unique because they go from ambient to full power in less than a second, and they shut off just as quickly, just like a light bulb. So that gives us some unique cooking advantages over traditional ovens, which use heater coils or gas to heat up. Traditional ovens are slow to heat up and slow to cool down, but really good at holding radiant heat in the chamber. But Brava's different because we're cooking with essentially what's like a spotlight. There's 3 lamps on the bottom and 3 on the top, and they're housed in these V-shaped reflectors. And when the lamp goes on at full power, it's like you have the power equivalent of a 900-degree wood-fired pizza oven, even though the air temp is relatively much lower than you would see in a traditional oven. And that's because instead of putting the energy into the walls of the oven and into the air, we're using the energy from the lamp to pump that energy directly into the food itself. And so essentially what we're doing with Brava is the lamps give us 2 unique cooking advantages. One is searing power. So Brava can sear steaks and pork chops and any other kind of protein in ways that you would only be able to do like in a cast iron pan. You can never sear a steak just by itself in an oven. It doesn't work. The other unique advantage is that because the lamps go on and off instantly, we create what we call 3 independent cooking zones within the same cooking chamber. So you can cook with Brava up to 3 different ingredients at the same time, but with totally different levels of doneness. Like you can cook a steak in zone 2 with potatoes in zone 1 and broccoli in zone 3, and the steak's going to come out seared and done to the preference that you selected. The potatoes will be browned and tender and cooked through, and the broccoli or the asparagus or whatever green vegetable you've chosen will be bright and nicely tender. So it's like having a sheet pan meal, but it's optimized for each of the different ingredients that go onto the tray.
Wow. I've got to say, guys, my stomach is rumbling right now. Just at the conversation we're having around the food, that's possible to be prepared in this. It's interesting to me because I've heard of these countertop oven type design things before, but I've never really thought of them as anything more than exactly that. It's very similar to your standard oven, but this is not. This is quite different, Zach. You've gone for something totally different here.
Yeah, the joke we make is that most of the smart ovens are basically a touchscreen on a toaster oven. It's still the same kind of traditional heating elements. But with these lamps, we can do things that are just very different. It's even in the 3 zones, like Travis is talking about. It's important to realize that it's not that we're cooking each zone at a fixed temperature for a certain amount of time, because the lamps are full power instantly, but then they're not retaining a lot of heat and they turn off. We can basically pulse them and turn them on and off. So for example, if you had a 900-degree pizza oven and you put a tray of broccoli into it, it's going to burn on the outside before it can cook all the way through. But because of this kind of flexibility, this agility that we have with the lamps, we can hit them at 900 degrees, and then just before the surface starts to burn, we turn off the lamps. And then we turn it on, turn it off, and we pulse it to maintain the surface temperature just below where it would start to burn. And by doing that, you can kind of cook as fast as the physics will allow the temperature to diffuse to the center of the food. And so by doing these kind of pulsing, like when we do the 3-zone cook that Travis was talking about, it'll actually cook more like a chef would, where it'll sear the top and then sear the bottom and then back off and let it start resting to temperature while doing light pulses to gradually bring it to the doneness that you want. And then meanwhile, it'll be pulsing the potatoes. And so it's just really flexible use of how we're applying heat to the food, and then that's all driven by software. So we've got 9,000 recipes that are controlling the lamp pulses for each of the different recipes that you want to cook. There's a camera inside the oven that'll actually stream what you're cooking to a phone that we used early on to really help dial in all of the cooking, because when we first started cooking with this, right, cooking with light is not something that people do. There's not 100 years of recipes for how you cook by flicking a light switch on and off with these super powerful bulbs. So Travis and his culinary team had to do tons of trial and error to figure out how this thing worked. Goofy things like, broccoli versus cauliflower that'll cook normally it's kind of the same way in an oven, because the broccoli is dark and the cauliflower is white and more reflective. It actually reflects more of the energy and cooks differently when you're cooking with light. So there's a bunch of testing that went into figuring out and kind of optimizing the best ways to leverage this heating technology.
I'm guessing this is a healthy way of cooking as well, right? I mean, air fryers are very popular at the moment. They've become extremely popular. Certainly in the country I live in the UK, everyone talks about them. We even have TV shows and TV channels dedicated to air fryers. No joke. Welcome to Britain. But this is a healthy option. Zach?
So, I mean, I think the most important thing about the healthiest part about this is just being able to eat fresh meals and not doing takeout as much. Anything that you're cooking at home with fresh ingredients is generally going to be healthier. And the big reasons that people are buying lots of takeout or frozen meals or just unhealthy meals, a lot of the time comes down to time, convenience, confidence, right? So anything that you can do that kind of removes some of those barriers just leads to cooking at home more frequently, which is going to be healthier. From the actual healthiness of cooking with light, you do not need, because of the power, you do not need to use the same amount of like oil or fats, and you can still get delicious results because it's strong enough to get the kind of caramelization, like the Maillard reaction that you get from good roasted foods. It also tastes really good because when you can cook fast like that, there's less time for the natural moisture and flavor of the vegetables or the meats to evaporate out. So foods tend to be much juicier, which makes them more flavorful, and they retain more nutrients because of that.
So, Travis, talk me through this then. So if I'm cooking a meal, am I kind of presetting this in a way? I'm deciding what I want to have. Am I able to say, here's what I have in the store cupboard, here's what I have in the fridge right now, I want to make something with this? Or is it a case of I'm looking at the recipe and then designing the meal around that to say, right, okay, if I want steak and I want potatoes and I want broccoli, for example, then that's what I'll go get and that's what I'll make, and the machine does what it does?
It's a little bit of both, actually. The former that you described of having the ability to sort of look in your fridge and pick 3 ingredients really came a little bit later in Brava. I think that was always part of the original vision of being able to take anything you wanted to cook and be able to put it onto the tray. But in the early days of Brava, like when we launched back in the fall of 2018, I think we launched with about 100 recipe programs, and we pushed new recipe programs to it every week, and we had to figure out the right balance in the beginning from having very simple programs like roasted broccoli or roasted potatoes, which we at that time were calling sort of an ingredient program, versus a recipe program, which were things like full-on recipes like chicken cacciatore and other type recipes that you would see in cookbooks, for example. So when we originally had developed a large base where we had hundreds of vegetables and a bunch of different protein cooks. And then what we did, Zach's team was really pivotal in this in helping us organize the back end, and he can describe more of that. But what we did was essentially overnight, with a software update, we launched 7,000 plus recipe combinations, and that was your essential way of being able to say, I have chicken and bell peppers and onions. And the new update when we did that, which I think that was called V2, right, Zach?
Yeah, it's inside baseball there, but yeah, so we updated.
Yeah, so that it was a huge software update that then gave you a user interface that allowed you to, it says kind of like, what do you want to cook? and you can enter one ingredient, it will find that ingredient, and then there's a plus sign, and you can add a couple of other ingredients to it. This really works best when you're talking about proteins and fresh vegetables. A lot of people ask us, oh, well, then can I do a chicken breast with rice and an enchilada? It's not like that. You really need to be thinking of it as a protein and a couple of different vegetables, or if you're vegetarian, you could pick 3 different vegetables. But it's sort of like paint by zones with the ingredients that you want to cook is completely possible. But in addition to that, we have about 1,000 other recipe programs that are more traditional type recipes.
Yeah, you're not short of choice, for sure.
Yeah, we wanted you to be able to use it in any way.
And beyond the recipes, we also have what we call manual modes. So we have a bake mode where you can set a time and temp and basically cook anything, any traditional oven recipe that you want. We have an air fryer mode that lets you translate air fryer recipes. We've got a slow cooker. We've got a rice cook mode. We've got what we call reheat, which is awesome. It's basically like it's like reheating something with a microwave. It takes maybe a minute longer, but because it's infrared heat, it actually crisps it up. So like if you have to reheat leftover pizza, it's maybe a minute longer than it would take in a microwave, but it actually comes out crispy and fresh and delicious. We have a sear mode, which is basically an on-demand power broiler, but you can also broil from top or bottom. And so using those manual modes combined with the preset recipes that we have, mixing and matching those, you can kind of cook almost anything. What's actually cool with that too is then we have what we call our custom cooks, where in a kind of modular way, you can stack any combination of manual modes or the Brava recipes and add them, step by step and save them out as your own recipe.
That's cool.
And then we have like a whole community where you can save them, if you've got your mom's lasagna recipe, so you can program that in so it's one touch the next time you want to make it. But then you can optionally share that with the community. And so we have people that are making recipes that we never would have thought of and sharing them with the community, and that are getting downloaded and used by
cool.
thousands of people out there. Yeah, we had one user that figured out how to make clarified butter, ghee, without having to stir it. He just throws 2 sticks of butter, he kind of melts it and then lets it settle, and then melts it and then lets it settle, and comes out clarified. And it's been downloaded thousands of times, and it's cooked hundreds of times a week. And it's something that we never would have thought to do. And by kind of opening up these tools to the community, just finding new use cases for it, which has been really fun.
And this is the next bit I want to get to, because a lot of people will be listening to this right now saying, okay, this all sounds wonderful. How accessible is it going to be to blind people, right? That's the first question. We're all like, it sounds okay, but how's that going to work? Yeah. So you've been working on this, because look, we met you at CSUN, and that's where my interest was piqued. And tell us the story. Tell us the story of how accessibility became part of your vision here.
For sure. So we didn't know anything about accessibility or assistive technology when we started. We started out just trying to make cooking at home easier, faster, more delicious, kind of for everyone. And it wasn't until kind of a couple years in we started hearing stories initially from older folks and aging in place. One of the first stories I remember hearing was a couple that had been married 50 years, and the wife had cooked every meal for him for 50 years, and then she had a stroke and was unable to cook, and her husband had no idea how to cook, and they were ordering DoorDash every night. And then their children bought them a Brava, and they just called us to tell us how happy they were because they were able to start cooking again and having healthy meals at home. And that kind of just got us thinking, and we started reaching out and working with some assisted living and some aging in place and kind of learning. And then we started seeing a bunch of sales from this business in Massachusetts, and we're primarily direct to consumer. So we're like, what's going on? We reached out to them, and it turned out they were an AT agency working with folks with developmental disabilities, primarily with autism, trying to help people live independently. And they kind of explained how they were using Brava. And we started to realize that a lot of these features that we built that are kind of great for everyone. The fact that there's no preheat, the automatic shut off, the fact that it stays cool to the touch, that it's totally guided automated recipes, like a lot of these safety and convenience and automations, they're great for everybody. But for people that have different challenges in the kitchen, they kind of take on an elevated level of importance. And then because it's driven by software, we can update it and make it better. So we went to our first ATIA and CSUN last year, and that's where we first heard from folks that the least accessible part of the oven was the touch screen, and that didn't really work for people that are blind and low vision. It's also where we first met. So we're from the Bay Area, from San Francisco. We had to fly all the way to Florida to meet the folks from the San Francisco Lighthouse for the blind and visually impaired. But they're the first people that showed me a screen reader on a cell phone, and they walked me through how it worked. And it got us thinking. And so we spent all of last year rebuilding all 9,000 of our recipes, rebuilding the full back end, so that you could control everything on the oven using the phone through VoiceOver and TalkBack. And we worked with the folks from the Lighthouse in San Francisco, and launched that just at the end of last year. And so we're really excited about that.
That's amazing. And it's amazing to hear the story because, it's a common story, if I'm honest. I hear from a lot of companies who almost find out about the potential audience that could buy their product. You say you kind of learned about this, obviously, through the conversations people had with you. I always find it interesting, when you're building these products in the initial stages, I guess if you don't know about disability and you don't really understand disability, you wouldn't think about even how to build it for someone who's disabled, right? It just wouldn't even factor in your mind.
You don't know what you don't know. And that was one of the things that why we went to ATIA and why we went to CSUN. And when we first started working with the folks at Proven Behavior Solutions, the agency in Massachusetts. And since then, what we've been trying to do is partner with more of these agencies where not only can we help train them and think through solutions for different use cases, because everybody's different and everybody's needs are different, right? But that's also how we get the feedback coming to us, and so where we learn more about this, and we can't fix what we're not aware of, but then the more that we're aware of, like, we can start thinking about different ways we can approach it and different things that we can do to try to accommodate or support more different use cases.
And to sell to more people, right? I mean,
and
what,
to sell
what
to more
business doesn't
people.
want to sell products, right?
Totally. I mean, it is one of those things that, especially when you're at CSUN or something like that, and you're talking to folks, and you meet the most amazing people at these conferences, and you want to help as much as you can. And so, like, you don't want to charge people that are having, on fixed incomes and things like that. So it's a blend there where it's like you don't want anybody being locked out because of it. But
I will say that's an interesting perspective, right? Because that is a really interesting perspective, because I've heard this a lot from people, and I understand it, and we absolutely are a community that is majority unemployed, right? A lot of us are living off the state because that's the reality we live in. But there's the other side of the coin, which is I want some level of access and some level of agency and choice. The more products that are accessible to me, then I have more choice. I can choose to buy it or not buy it. But if it's inaccessible in the first place, I definitely can't buy it. So
100%, and it's not stopping me. Like we totally want to do it, right? It's not the. I guess I don't want it to come off that it's purely a money grab, right? That's not the only reason that we're putting this time into it. We do very much want to open doors and give people access to things.
Can I just say, guys, honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing to say, do you know what, a company wants to make money, right? I think that's absolutely fine. Yes. So, I'm all for it. Look, at the end of the day, if it's a great product and it's going to work for me, then I want to buy it. I just want that product to be accessible. And ideally, what I don't want, and this is the thing, for a lot of blind people, there are only options available are talking devices or specifically built devices, which often cost just as much. And they're less functional. They maybe don't last as long. And that's the thing. We want the same as everyone else. It's the iPhone phenomenon, as I call it. The iPhone is the most accessible device out there. Other smartphones too, right? But the iPhone was first. And it was the first device that I was able to pick up and go out to a store and buy like anybody else. I was using the same device as everyone else. I paid the same price as everyone else. Mm-hmm. That's what equality should look like. It shouldn't be, well, it has to cost more. It should cost the same and it should be available. That's the dream. And so that's why I love what you're doing. And that's why I was so keen to get you on the show.
Well, and the other thing that I've kind of realized going through this process is that adding a lot of these, more accessible features aren't only improving the product for people that are blind or low vision, right? Like improving the accessibility of the interface and of the product is making it more accessible and a better experience for everyone, right? Yep. Again, it comes down to understanding user needs and use cases and being aware. But the more aware of different needs and use cases, it just makes you better at designing the product and making it a more useful and accessible product for all users.
Yeah, I think it's made us better at articulating instructions too for all users by being able to work with the blind and low vision community has improved our ability, I think, to communicate with everybody. And I think also when we realized that there were disabled people that were becoming independent by cooking with Brava at home, it seemed like just a natural extension of our original mission to help people cook with convenience and ease. And we wanted Brava to be kind of like a chef on your countertop. And then I would just encourage any other entrepreneur that works in the software space that if you're working in a thing like software, like Brava or like an iPhone, you certainly can make it accessible. And you should think about that from the beginning if you're just starting out.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I wish because there's certain things like right now, Brava does require sighted assistance for the initial setup because you can't download the software, connect the oven to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so let's dig into that a little bit because you guys very kindly sent me over a Brava unit and it's not available in the UK at the moment. I should point that out. I had to buy a box to plug the thing into plug it into the wall. So a very complicated thing, but it works, and that's the important thing. And the setup, you're absolutely right. So the device itself has a button on the right-hand side of it. On the top, it's like all on the top, and then you have a touch screen in the middle. And that touch screen is inaccessible at the moment. Is there any way you can make that accessible? No, because I guess you don't have a speaker in there, do you?
So it's a couple of different issues for making that accessible. We do have a speaker, but it's more for like sound effects. It doesn't have it doesn't have much bass response. And so it doesn't do very understandable spoken voices. And two, because it's, it's just our custom UI and OS, like there's not, there's not the accessible features within the OS that is running the UI on that device.
I see. So it's not got it's not running Android, so it's not
running Android
back on it right. Okay.
Exactly. It's just a custom Linux distribution that we built to run on that. So it would be really hard to do that way. I've looked into some companion devices that could maybe sit alongside it that could handle some of it, but once you start going down that path, it's the fact that iPhone and Android have those integrations so and people are so used to them, and it's just the fastest and kind of cleanest way to integrate with that.
That's right. So the setup process is setting it up, getting it connected to the network, and then
Exactly.
connecting it to your smartphone. And once you've got that setup done, which does require, as you say, sighted assistance in those initial steps, once it's connected, you're controlling it all from your smartphone, correct?
Correct. Yes. Where, I mean, we just launched this. There's still a couple. I'd say that we're 95+% there in terms of features. There's still like some random settings for adjusting like the frequency of notification chimes, or there's some things that we haven't gotten control into the app, and so we're still adding things. But being able to control and do any of the cook processes, that's all controllable via the app currently. And in terms of the initial connection, getting back to what we were talking about, and if I had known about this and been planning it from the get-go, I probably could have figured out a way of getting the device connected from the app using Bluetooth. It's not super easy, but I'm confident that I could do it. It's just hard for me now because we've already manufactured and flashed the software onto the ovens, and I can't get inside the boxes to update it. So we're still planning and looking into it, but it's, again, just one of those things where if we'd been planning these products and been thinking about some of this stuff from the beginning, it would be easier and faster to solve those, putting with a little bit of thought earlier on in the process.
Yeah, look, there are people who may shoot you down for that. There are others who'll say, do you know what? You're being honest, you're being transparent. And I think that's the best we can hope for, quite frankly. You admit yourself, look, you didn't know about this when you started out. If you did, you'd have done it differently. But that's okay, right? We're here now. And you're at the accessibility party. It's a fun place with nice people here.
It certainly is.
And that's
was wild, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is wild. Travis, everything you've talked about in terms of the cooking, we can do that through the app, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was the big thing that we had to do before we actually implemented the VoiceOver, was to get all of the manual modes available on the Brava app. And you can almost think of each of those manual modes as like its own little independent iPhone app, whether that's bake or custom cook or sear or any of those 10 plus manual modes that are on there.
Talk to me about price, because it's available only in the US at the moment. Is that right?
US and Canada.
US and Canada. Okay.
Yeah, we have 4 different packages. The core technology is the same. The Brava unit is the same in each of them. They each have the same touchscreen and cooking capabilities. The only difference is the number of accessories, or the bundles of accessories that come with it. Brava's unique because most ovens have a wire rack and use your own cookware, but because we're guaranteeing people consistency and perfection anytime they press the green button for an automated cook, we have to control as many variables as possible. And so Brava uses its own proprietary cookware and accessories that slide into the rails of Brava. So the price starts at $1,295 for the starter set. The next set is the bacon breakfast that includes 3 pieces of bakeware plus an egg tray so that you can make fried eggs or poached eggs. 4 eggs in as little as like 4 minutes. And then the next set after that is called the Chef's Choice, which used to be the most popular set. That has all of the accessories plus a enameled cast iron chef's pan. It's essentially a Dutch oven that you can use to make rice and stews and things like that. And then in 2023, we launched and that Chef's Choice set is $16.95. In 2023, we launched Brava Glass, which has a glass door. The original Brava has a metal door. But customers asked, we didn't really need a glass door from the beginning because of the camera, but customers asked us for it. And so the Brava Glass came out in 2023. It includes all the accessories I just mentioned, plus some extra trays, plus a wireless temp sensor, which took us a few years to develop. And that set is $19.95.
We're working to try to get it to the UK too. Like, it's the only reason we're not there yet is just trying to get through all of the energy efficiency hurdles. So working on that as we speak. We actually had meetings about it yesterday.
Yeah, UK and Europe regulations, they're just a barrel load of laughs, I can only imagine. All available direct from you, right? All available from Brava Direct.
Yeah, just www.brava.com. You can also find it on Amazon. We're at Williams-Sonoma online, Wayfair and Paragold online, and a few independent appliance dealers as well.
Yeah, go check out the website, because honestly, not just the oven, but the accessories. If you love your accessories, and I love accessories, then you're going to be plentiful of choice in there. Zach and Travis, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for
Thank you. It was great.
There you go. That is the Brava Smart Oven, and I look forward to telling you more about that in the coming weeks and months as we delve into it as well. So yes, very exciting. Stephen Scott making food. What could possibly go wrong?
Absolutely nothing, as long as you make me a beef ragu.
Ugh.
Please.
Ragu. Yeah, shove it. That is it for us today. Thank you as always. Keep your feedback coming in all the usual ways. We will be back, of course, tomorrow with plenty more of your comments and feedback as well. Keep it coming. And yeah, Shaun, off and enjoy your ragu. I'm off to enjoy Caddyshack.
What could go wrong with that? Okay, enjoy. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.